devs announced on the Blox bulletin that we're going to be getting reworks, and we're also going to get a lot of balance changes. Overpowered fruits are going to get nerfed, and really weak fruits are going to get buffed. Starting off with Rocket, it's not going to receive any changes. It has an 8,500 damage moveset, and it's overall very balanced. Spin has the lowest damage moveset in the game at 7,500, and it's definitely going to need a damage buff. Its moveset is not very good, so to compensate for that, it should have fair damage. Blade is crazy strong in PvP, being able to completely counter sword mains, so it's not going to need any balance changes, and it's got a 9,500 damage moveset, very good. Spring has a 12,000 damage moveset, which seems pretty good, but because the moves are so hard to hit, it doesn't really make a difference. It's just a bad fruit still. With a simple cooldown buff, it could be a pretty solid fruit. Bomb's got an impressive 21,500 damage, but because the moveset is kind of hard to hit, it doesn't really make it super overpowered, so it's very balanced. On Smoke, we have 12,000 damage, but the moveset is pretty solid, so it does not need any changes. Spike has 15,500 damage, but the moveset is pretty bad, so it obviously needs a rework. It's just not very fun to use. It's just a bad fruit overall. Moving on to regular Flame, it doesn't really need any changes. It's at 14,500 damage, which is pretty balanced for an unawakened fruit. Once we go to the awakened version, it's at 17,500 damage, and it doesn't really need any changes either. It's very balanced, but the X ability seems a little bit spammy, so maybe a slight cooldown nerf on that. Falcon's got a 9,000 damage moveset. It is horrible. Thankfully, we have the rework incoming, and it's going to be changed to Eagle. Ice is at 11,000 damage, and it definitely is going to need a nerf. That's a very strong unawakened fruit. We would be nerfing the damage here, because if we nerf the cooldown, it's going to make Ice a really bad fruit. The awakened version has a 14,000 damage moveset. It's very strong, and it's also going to need a damage nerf. Sand has a 15,000 damage moveset, but it doesn't really need any changes because the moves are kind of hard to hit. Awakened Sand has 14,500 damage, but if you miss the V ability, it kind of ruins the point of Sand's entire kit, so it definitely is going to need a little bit of a cooldown buff. Now Dark is also sitting at 14,500 damage, but when you awaken it, it drops down to 14,000 damage. Overall, it's pretty balanced. It's the skilled fruit, so it doesn't really need to be all that overpowered. Diamond's at 15,000 damage, which isn't that much more than some of the other fruits, but because of how spammy the V ability is with major AoE, it's a very solid fruit. It's one of the top 3 best in the game right now. It definitely needs a cooldown nerf on the V and probably the X ability and the M1. Moving over to Light, it's at 15,000 damage for its unawakened moveset, which is pretty dang solid. It's not too overpowered in PvP, which is really nice, so then we can use it for grinding, and it's completely fair. The awakened version of Light does 14,500 damage, and it's very solid. A lot of people like to use it. It's a high skill fruit, that's for sure. Rubber's got an impressive 22,500 damage, but because of how weird the moveset is, it's going to need a rework as well. Barrier has an 18,000 damage moveset, and it's kind of fun to use, but it definitely still needs a little bit of a rework. Thankfully, we have one. It's going to turn into Creation. Ghost actually does 12,000 damage, and it's always felt pretty balanced. A lot of 30 mils like to use it here and there. It's a pretty skilled fruit, I would say, most of the time, and it's just kind of fun to use. Magma has 19,500 damage, but it's not a PvP fruit. It's really good for grinding, so we don't need to make any changes to that. It's fairly balanced. The awakened version actually has 31,500 damage, so I would definitely expect some type of nerf there. Quake's got 14,500 damage, but when you awaken it, it goes up to 16,500. I don't know about you guys, but Quake's a little bit weird. It does not have a mobility. It only has 4 moves, and it just is really delayed. It's not a very good fruit overall, and I think it just needs a rework. I think it can bring it back, and it would be really fun to use with a simple rework. Buddha's moveset has 10,000 damage, but that's not what you're using the fruit for. It's only for grinding, and you're going to use like swords, fighting styles, right? Doesn't need any changes there, and the awakened version is going to have a 20,000 damage moveset. No changes there either. You're not going to need to really use the moveset that much. Sometimes you use the V ability, but that's about it. Love has 15,000 damage, and I feel like it's very balanced overall. It's not like broken at all, but if you use it right, it can be pretty strong. That's how most of the fruits should be, in my opinion. Spider has 14,500 damage for its moveset, which is fairly balanced because the awakened version has 20,000 damage. Although that seems like a lot, its moveset is kind of hard to hit, so Honestly, I think it actually needs a cooldown buff. Sound has a 14,500 damage moveset and doesn't really need any changes. It's overall pretty balanced with a lot of AoE on it. It's fun to use as well because it gives you a little bit of extra speed boost when you got on that golden tempo mode. Phoenix Unawaken is so bad. It is the second lowest damage moveset in the game. Oh wait, there's an Awakened version, so it doesn't really need any changes on the Unawakened version because nobody really uses Unawakened stuff anyways. And Unawakened, it's 10,500 damage for the moveset, which is actually still pretty bad, so I would say damage buff for that right there. Then I feel like it would be a little bit more fair. Regular Rumble is at 15,000 damage, and it also needs a cooldown nerf. Maybe even a little bit of a damage nerf because that's very, very strong. Awakened Rumble is at 16,500 damage, and it also is going to need a cooldown nerf. Maybe a little bit of damage nerf there too. Just because you mainly use Rumble for the F ability. The quick dashes are super useful. Pain has a 15,000 damage moveset, and let me tell you, it's a pain to use. Blizzard has a 20,000 damage moveset, and it definitely needs a nerf. I feel like the V ability is very, very strong. Moving over to the Mythicals, we have Gravity at 17,000 damage, and it's going to get a rework pretty soon, so I don't really need to cover that. Mammoth has 13,000 damage, and it needs a rework. It just kind of sucks. The transformation on Mammoth is at 11,500 damage, and it also kind of sucks. Not very fun to use, not very unique mechanics, they're just kind of bad overall. TREX has 14,500 damage, and it's not going to really need any changes. It's really fun to use. I feel like it's quite balanced overall, but it's like what a mythical fruit should be. The transformation on TREX isn't all that strong, but you can use it in a fight, and it's still pretty fair. You get the extra range of damage when you walk away from your opponents, if you guys know that mechanic. So I feel like it's fun to mess around with those type of mechanics, and like a little bit more strategy is added, but the transformation isn't too spammy or overpowered. Doe has 17,500 damage, but this is on the Unawakened version, does not need any changes at all. Then the Awakened version has 20,500 damage, and it definitely needs a cooldown nerf. It feels ridiculously good. Shadow has a 21,500 damage moveset, but that's also when you get someone stuck in the V ability, which doesn't really happen all that often. So I don't think it really needs any balance changes. Now Venom is at 19,000 damage for its standard moveset, and it doesn't really feel that overpowered to me. The only issue is when you get to the transformation, it is ridiculously spammy and quick. Moving on to Gas, it's at 12,500 damage, and it doesn't really need any changes. It feels kind of balanced to me, but the transformation is where it gets like crossing the line. 17,000 damage for it. It definitely needs a nerf, but I also feel like we need to size everything down. The actual Gas model itself feels really, really big, and even though the VFX look nice, I don't want to see that much of the Gas fruit. I want it to be shrunk down to a more normal size. Then, while we're shrinking Gas down, let's also shrink all the abilities to make the AoE a little bit smaller on them. And there you go, you just balance Gas, pretty easy. Control just needs to rework at some point. You can see I just missed the V ability because there's so much delay on it. So you have to try and movement predict your opponents, which is really, really hard to do. And it's just not very fun to use right now. Spirit has 22,000 damage, and I don't think it needs any changes. Leopard is at 15,500 damage, and it's not that good right now. So it doesn't really need any changes, and the transformation on Leopard is at 18,000 damage, and it also does not need any changes. So I don't have the damage marked down for Yeti, but what it needs is a cooldown nerf. The damage isn't insane on it, I don't feel like. Just the amount that you can spam on Yeti is the issue. Yeti feels really, really balanced with its standard moveset. It's the transformation that's actually ruining the fruit and making it so that it needs these nerfs. But moving on to Kitsune, a fruit that has not really been hard nerfed yet for some odd reason. It does 17,500 damage. It just needs a cooldown nerf. Maybe a little bit of damage nerf there too. Definitely a damage nerf actually. Yeah, I'm changing my mind here. Just nerf Kitsune to the ground, please. I don't want to see it anymore.